All right, we are looking out for your money this morning, whether we're talking about retiring early, maybe taking that long-awaited dream trip. But I think for a lot of you, you're wondering, okay, new presidential administration coming in, what does that mean? Should I readjust what I'm doing? So here to give you those answers and your keys to success, happy to have Heath Grossman, a partner at Johnson Brunetti, who's been in the show many, many times. Good to see you again, sir.
See you, Tim.
Yeah, glad to have you here. I was talking about this beforehand. I know I've talked to financial planners before who they generally say if you look at how the stock market has done over time, you can't really suss out too easily when it's been under a Republican president versus a Democratic president. So yeah. I'm hoping that means people can more or less stay the course, but tell me what you think.
I would totally agree with that. I mean, really, there's no rhyme or reason when it comes to the stock market and the administration that's in power at any given point. Yeah. You know, this is going to be easy, right? I'm happy to tell you, people shouldn't do anything. They shouldn't be reactive to what happened over the past week, right? Mm-hmm. We don't know what's going to happen. You know, you want to be agnostic when it comes to politics and your investments and your retirement plans.
What should we be looking at? Are there any leading indicators that are letting us know, are things going to keep going up? Are we due for a recession that never really came when people were bracing for one post-COVID?
Well, we don't know. I mean, I think the big things to think about when it comes to the next administration is going to be taxes. Mm-hmm. You know, I would assume that they're going to continue to, you know, have low taxes that we've had over the last couple of years. Tariffs, right? Trump has talked about initiating tariffs, which, you know, maybe that's true. Maybe that's just going to be a negotiating ploy. Right. But tariffs are generally inflationary and near, you know, unanimous consensus among economists that that's not good. You know, regulation, right? Like, are they going to deregulate, and how might that affect corporate earnings? And that might be a positive thing. But in general, when it comes to your retirement plans, you shouldn't be thinking about these things. It should be more about building a retirement plan that's specific to who you are, when you want to retire, what type of lifestyle you want to live in retirement, other income sources that you have between pension and Social Security, and your own risk tolerance.
So for people who haven't really done that, what are those first couple steps?
Yeah, I mean, start to take a look at what you have, right? When somebody's sitting there and they're saying, hey, I'm this age right now, I want to retire at this age, what are my income sources going to be? Am I going to have a pension? How much is Social Security going to be for me? Expenses, right? Not the most fun conversation and most fun thing to do in the world to say, what do I spend? And I'm not saying that people need to be budgeting per se, but really having a good sense of what your expenses are as you approach retirement is a good thing, because most people ultimately want to be able to live their lifestyle in retirement and do the things that they want to do. That goes back to expenses. So it's very important to understand what your expenses are. And then bringing in other aspects of, like, how much do you have saved up? Putting all these things together helps people answer the question of, am I going to be okay? Am I going to be able to do it?
Right. What about maintaining it? I know there's a lot of people, they'll use, I think, a Vanguard plan, something like that, where it's going to adjust for you and become more conservative as you get closer to retirement. Sure. Is that enough, or do you need to be doing something actively every 2 months, 6 months, 12 months?
You know, there's two main shifts that people need to take as they approach retirement. One is looking at things through that income planning sort of lens, and we talked about that. The other thing is kind of what you're mentioning right now, which is risk, and making sure you're not taking on a ton of risk. The big goal should be making sure that you are reasonably growing what you have, steady, consistent, but minimizing the downside and minimizing the risk. You know, if you're 60 to 65 years old, 70 years old, you don't want to invest your money in the same way that you did when you were 40 years old or 35 years old.
Yeah. And last real question, you said reasonably growing. Is there an easy number you can give us as to sort of what annual percentage would be considered reasonably growing, or is that age dependent too?
I mean, I think that's kind of age dependent. You know, that's perception dependent. I mean, generally, us and a lot of other financial planners out there are trying to really kind of target a 5 to 8% rate of return. With a lot of the folks that we speak with and work with that have done a good job saving, they usually don't need to have a very high rate of return to be okay. Why strive for 12 or 15% when you don't necessarily need that, because you're opening yourself up to negative 20%, negative 40%. If you've won the game already, don't continue to play the same game.
Volatility goes both ways, so
it doesn't
you just
help
have to keep that on there. Heath, thank you so much for joining us again.
Absolutely.
Good to see that. Once again, the idea, stay the course if you can. You should be okay.